This is Secrecy Watch.
When people ask why the government refuses to release hard evidence about UFO existence, the answer usually points to classification. That answer misses the real wall. Some information does not wait to be classified. Some information becomes secret the moment it comes into existence. That is where FOIA dies. FOIA sells a simple idea. Government records belong to the public unless an exemption applies. Courts repeat the phrase. Agencies repeat it louder, but buried inside FOIA sits an escape hatch. Exemption 3. If Congress passes a statute that forbids disclosure, FOIA takes a back seat. No balancing tests, no public interest review, no judge weighing harm against truth. One statute uses that stop sign better than any other. The Atomic Energy Act of 1946. Most classified information begins life unclassified. Someone decides it needs protection along the line somewhere. A stamp lands on a page. Later, another decision can remove that. The Atomic Energy Act works completely differently. It creates restricted data, information declared secret by law, not by executive order, not by agency choice, but by Congress. The statute covers all data tied to nuclear weapons design, special nuclear material production, nuclear adjacent materials, and the use of those materials to generate energy. All data. Once information falls inside that boundary, disclosure becomes a crime. No FOIA officer can override that. No judge can compel release. This is the born secret doctrine. Secrecy at inception. Now, let's shift just a little bit to UAP. For years, pilots and radar operators described objects with sharp turns, sustained hypersonic velocities, no visible exhaust, no heat plumes, no visible means of propulsion. Those reports lived on the fringe until something changed. In 2020, the Department of Defense released 3 Navy videos, FLIR 1, Gimbal, and Go Fast. The Pentagon confirmed they were real. The Navy posted them in a FOIA reading room. Then in 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released its assessment. The report used very careful language. No aliens, no science fiction, but it said something explosive. A subset of objects appeared to move without discernible means of propulsion. That sentence really, really matters because propulsion equals power, energy, and power sources draw legal borders. Speculation about exotic propulsion often runs wild. Gravity control, space-time tricks, unknown physics. The Atomic Energy Act does not care about speculation. It cares about materials. If an analysis touches compact reactors, radioisotope sources, special nuclear material, nuclear adjacent materials, or nuclear energy conversion, the statute activates, not later, but immediately. Once that happens, FOIA cannot reach it, not partially, not indirectly, not through redaction gymnastics. That statute simply does not allow disclosure. Here's what we can verify. This is what we know. The Navy videos exist. The government authenticated them. They remain unclassified in a limited form. ODNI acknowledged unresolved cases with unusual flight characteristics. Aero reports hundreds of incidents, many unresolved due to limited sensor data. What remains absent is proof of propulsion methods. Not because curiosity stopped, because analysis lives behind the walls. Some walls rely on executive secrecy. Those can shift. Statutory secrecy does not. This explains a pattern many miss. Why does the Department of Energy keep appearing in whispers around advanced propulsion? DOE does not chase UFOs. DOE controls nuclear knowledge. Its secrecy authority comes from statute, not presidential policy. That authority does not expire with administrations. Does not soften with public pressure. If any propulsion research, even defense or analytical, touches nuclear material or energy production, DOE owns the lock, and FOIA cannot penetrate it under any circumstances. There is a second category: formerly restricted data, information removed from restricted data through a joint DOE defense process, usually tied to military utilization of nuclear weapons. This creates a seam. One side lives under executive classification, the other lives under statute. If a UAP-related program crosses both domains, FOIA would hit two secrecy walls at the same time: Exemption 1 for classification and Exemption 3 for statutory secrecy. Only one of those exemptions need to hold, and as we all know, courts routinely defer to those exemptions in FOIA litigation. But here is the paradox. The public demands proof of extraordinary technology, but the most probative evidence, energy source analysis, may sit in the one legal category FOIA cannot touch. This does not prove exotic propulsion exists. It explains why, if it did, FOIA would never deliver confirmation of its existence. Make of that what you will. Transparency work still matters. Process records, reporting protocols, interagency coordination, training materials, budget summaries at unclassified levels, those sit outside restricted data. That is where pressure works. But when requests drift toward power sources, material composition, or energy generation, the Atomic Energy Act ends the conversation. FOIA governs what the government chooses to withhold. The Atomic Energy Act governs what the government is forbidden to release. That distinction controls the entire UAP debate. Sunlight stops where nuclear energy begins. This is Secrecy Watch.
If you'd like to know more about the mechanisms of American government secrecy, you may want to read Richard's new book, Need to Know: The History, Law, and Practice of American Secrecy. Available now on Amazon.com and Shopify. You'll find links in the description below. This is Secrecy Watch, where we talk about the gatekeepers of government secrecy and the mechanisms they create and employ to hide the truth about UAP and the nature of reality. If you enjoyed this content, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click the bell for a notification when we post future content. Secrecy Watch,